Hey there, welcome to Word on the Street. Today we got something a little bit different. I did a podcast with the Lewis brothers out of Lewis Auto Group in Fayetteville. They've got their own podcast called Crossroads Conversations. And they did a recording with me, and we were able to talk about some unique stuff like what a dealership can do with a shoestring budget, just testing out $500, where to get started, and how to connect with a community in authentic ways and striking a balance between old school values with cutting edge digital tactics. We also just talk about their family business and how to thrive in modern markets and exploring the future of automotive advertising. If this sounds interesting, you're in the right spot. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Crossroad Conversations with the Lewis brothers. We're your hosts, Shelby, Matt, and Taylor, and we are unpacking it today. So last week we introduced Dealer OMG, and this week we're bringing them back, but we're flipping the script, and we're going to ask them some questions and learn kind of what they do, how they do it, what they've learned that works, maybe what doesn't work, of this size budget, that size budget, and everything else, and kind of show how it makes sense, and maybe as a small business how it could work for you, whether it be Dealer OMG or just anything else social wise, to make sure we do that.
Absolutely, and to give you a quick recap, you can always dive back into it and look at it there, but we had a lot of fun answering questions about our culture, the building process of adding different things into our whole new facility, and then continuing to grow on that. More and more of that is packed into last week's episode, so make sure and go and check that out. Also, you can always check out our freshest inventory on lewissuperstore.com.
You bet you can. Hey, we got to talk about what we drove today. Now, it's end of the year, so we all packed in what we referred to as a cabin chassis. You know what I mean? And so when we came up, I know you're thinking when I pulled up today, you're like, where's the bed, Matt? I was like, it's ready to upfit for anybody at the end of the year. You know, whether you want a utility bed on it, a flat bed, a hay bed, or a dump bed. These vehicles we've got in stock, and I think when we counted the other day, we got a little over 100 vehicles that are classified in the commercial atmosphere that qualify for that Section 179. So if you need to save some money on taxes and upgrade your fleet at the same time, we are Section 179 experts, so our team can be able to help you out there. But man, we could tell, but just the way the suspension was working on the way up here, the payload that this thing's going to be able to haul.
And what that means in real world is it's heavy duty. Heavy duty, like haul all the way. So whatever bed you want to put on it, and whether you want something with a bed or you need a van, you know, with a bulkhead, we've got the commercial. And don't forget the commercial service center.
Oh man, that's so good. So if you got an RV, if you've got a box truck, if you got a medium duty vehicle, whether you're a municipality or, you know, shout out maybe Ozarks Electric out there, one of the RV people, we can get you taken care of with our dedicated commercial repair facilities where we can handle up to rigs 75 feet long.
75 feet long. We're building our team of the specialized technicians to be able to handle that. We are not going to redo the shag carpet inside your RV.
No, we can't do that.
But we will work on your V10 and your transmission and all things manufactured of the original chassis. So just, if you're wanting your AC worked on from the top, I can look at it and tell you if it does or doesn't work. But past that, you're going to need to go to your local RV place. But we've got that. And so all things commercial, we got it handled.
We sure do got it handled. Hey, today's episode I'm really excited about because one of the things everybody in this room I know really enjoys is marketing and advertising. And how do you get your word out? How do you get your story out? How do you get your specials out there to all your customers buying? In our case, it's Northwest Arkansas and beyond. We've got some longtime business partners of ours that are coming on, and these guys have really helped us move the needle, and I won't spoil it all before we get to introducing them. They're with Dealer OMG. They're based out of Austin, and these guys have got unique stories. We're going to have Ashley and Andrew both on here. They'll tell us a little bit about themselves, but then not only talk about digital, but then they found a niche in digital on how to make businesses successful no matter what their ad budget was.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, and we'll pinpoint and give them a specific question and kind of let them expound on that, but we realized you could spend your entire year's budget in social and not really get anything for it.
No.
You know what I mean?
They'll take your money.
They'll take your money in a flash.
Not you guys.
No. We're talking about social marketing.
I want to
And
boost
so we're
my
like,
post.
yeah, it boosts your posts and like
Everyone in
who do you
China.
want to market to? Is like all these people in China, like they're great, nice guy, but like hard to ship a car over there. So we teamed up with Dealer OMG, and they've just been a great fit for us. So question I want to ask to either one of you guys, and you can just pick is the shift, the evolution of marketing as you guys have got into marketing, and you see a shift from traditional, we're talking newspaper, we're
Sure.
talking radio, to digital. How did you guys find the space that makes sense for your business to be able, I've heard you guys define this before, that you guys are an inch wide and a mile deep. Like that's how deep you get into it. How did you find that shift of like, that's our part that we want to go into, and here's how we're good at it?
I could answer that.
Okay.
Well,
So,
Matt
Andrew,
Shelby
dive in and
Taylor,
tell me
we're
how you
fired
found
up
it.
to be here again.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah,
yeah,
you're good to
you're
go.
good.
You're on there.
Okay, good. When you're talking about like traditional TV, radio, print, billboards, I've found a lot of ways, because my background, like when I first got out of college, I worked at a billboard company designing billboards. And I found like the same type of creative that lets people understand quickly what you're trying to advertise while you're driving down the highway past the billboard. You're going 81 miles an hour. Is the same type of creative that can stop people's thumbs when they're scrolling through their news feed, through their stories. And my background is design and marketing. And so I worked with billboards, then I started working with radio stations. This is like 2004.
Okay.
And then Facebook had opened up an office in Austin, and I was helping some radio and billboard clients set up their Facebook profiles. And I ran into Facebook's office like, hey, I'm trying to do this, setting up their pages. It seems like profile is not the right thing. Should I do pages? And then how do I start advertising? And they offered me a job as a local business consultant at Facebook. And at first I was like, no. Well, actually, yes. So I had to go through all these rounds of interviewing at Facebook, where we were able to work for a number of years and get a good front row education on how to leverage Facebook's platform for small business. Before my business partner, Keith Turner, and I branched off and started our own marketing firm, Dealer OMG, after finding some success with auto dealers. Then we had some patient dealers that sat next to me as I asked them what's the difference with the internet department and a BDC, and what's the difference with a CRM and a DMS, and how can I integrate with your systems, and how do you guys make money? So it was certainly, it was certainly a pretty linear path from going from billboards to where we are now.
Yeah, and I think that definitely defines evolution of like, hey, and seeing opportunity, when it shows its head,
You bet.
like you were going into Facebook to kind of learn, and not necessarily looking for a job, and they're like, hey, what about this? And so then you're like, okay, maybe I can learn something from Facebook. Let's get on that team. And then you and Keith kind of created this thing, and it was like, hey, I can build a business of this. Ashley, how did you get into the digital marketplace, and kind of what's your background on it?
Yeah, so I feel like everyone in auto has a weird story about how they got into auto and marketing. I was in college for fashion merchandising, and I started working at a dealership part-time, helping them create email templates to send out, and like responding to leads late at night and things like that in the business development center. So it kind of started my digital journey, but I have watched it go from, email campaigns, TV, newspaper, all the way into social. And when I was in college, a couple years into my dealership journey, Facebook started to become really popular, and I was graduating, and they wanted to keep me around because they liked what I was doing at the dealership, and they were like, there's this thing called Facebook, and we don't really know what to do with it or want to understand it.
Yeah.
So can you like take this and run with it? So I just kind of started building everything from the ground up. And I think at that time we had 4 or 5 locations. And then we grew to 26 locations, and the evolution happened there also with, Facebook and then Instagram and then TikTok. So it was a nice long journey.
So then how did you transition from wanting to do it from a dealership level then to then go to an agency?
Yes, I left that part out, didn't I?
Okay, there was a whole lot.
So, part of my job, I was actually running paid social campaigns, and trying to shoot content and run paid social campaigns all as one person for 26 rooftops was hard and a lot. So we kind of found Dealer OMG, I think at Digital Dealer or somewhere. And one of my GMs came to me and was like, hey, we want to sign up with these people. I think they're going to help us, do more campaigns kind of the way you are doing them. Because we never really found anybody that was doing boutique campaigns specific to us. It was always, this is what you get when you sign up for social advertising, and we're going to push your inventory. But no one would ever help us with service or parts or recruiting or anything like that. So we had signed up with Dealer OMG at one of our stores, and I got to know Andrew and Dave pretty well. And it kind of just helped me realize my evolution from the dealership of helping. I wanted to help more dealers with what I had learned and what I had built in social. So that was kind of what led to that evolution, was coming on board with Dealer OMG to help more dealerships expand their social reach.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, it's definitely a fun and growing, relevant
when she
market.
joined us, I sent a handwritten letter over to the dealer saying, hey, Ashley's starting with us. I just want you to know I'm a big fan of the way that you guys do business. We're not trying to recruit a bunch of your staff. It's just, there's a handful of people in the industry that speak English, digital, and automotive, can kind of translate in that little world. And it's like, I just wanted to let the dealer know we're not coming after any more people. Like, this just popped up. Yeah, 'cause I know what it feels like to get poached.
That's a good point. No, it always happens, right? Whether you're getting poached from or you're the one out there poaching, you can't be the nice guy, or the nice person and never because I'm sitting here, I'm like, dang, Ashley, we're looking for someone like you, but I'm not. I just need your sister, So, but so that's one of those things that always happens,
Yes.
So tell me, in your digital marketing, if no one knows anything about what you guys do or how you do it, what does a sample campaign look like from you guys?
If I could wave, every store is a little bit different with what they need, and it's through a quick 30-second conversation you can start to identify what they need help with. If it's not, it's always going to be sales up front. And what I always encourage our dealerships to start with, whether they're executing it, their in-house marketing team's executing it, we're doing it, is to start with their data. I feel like it's completely underutilized for dealerships to really understand and know how to quickly leverage their own database. And it's not just their database, it'll be their website traffic too. So without exceptions, the best performing people to reach are going to be people that are in your DMS, people that are in your CRM, and people that have come by your website. And what that looks like, instead of us carpet bombing out of all of Fayetteville, we have a group of people that know who our dealership is because they purchased from us in the past. And as soon as somebody purchases, a lot of our objective is to stop advertising inventory and price in front of them and to start saying thank you. Like a sincere, quick thank you message to a really small audience. So if you bought in the last 90 days, the ad going through your news feed can be a sincere thank you. Welcome to the community. Please follow our page. Please like our page. And now we can start to grow our organic followers and use them as a third-party endorsement to put their name in our ads now. But also they can be registered and they can follow our content. And then after, introduce them to the parts department, introduce them to the service manager, introduce them to the service tech who's been with the dealership for 25 years, and do what we can with our database and a really limited marketing budget, because it's a really small audience, to try and get customers to go from the sales department to the service department. Because what we're facing as an industry is like 30% on average of customers are going from the sales to the service department. And I'm noticing too is like that's a metric of vehicle detail page views and cost per click and lead gen is a big component of digital marketing, but there's also things that we can start to look at, and that could be your service retention rate. And let's run this campaign for 8 months and spend $40 a month to see if we can get people from the sales to the service department, the advertising, and if we can impact that percentage of people and start to grow loyalty with our own customer base. So once we've consumed all the dealers' database to be advertising to everybody who's bought from us always. There's no reason we shouldn't be advertising to everybody in our database, especially if they still live in our market. Then let's look at conquesting and going after Tesla owners, going after Jeep owners with the new Ford Conquest initiatives. I think that was a long-winded way of answering your question there.
No, that was really great, and I think that points out that it's not just a simple photo of a car with a carousel that says, hey, there's great deals on these cars. It goes out to a blanket. Even if you dive into the marketing a little bit or the analytics of 20 to 35-year-old males and females in this zip code or within 30 miles. And I love that, and I think that's why we're a partner with you guys, is that it's a 360 message. If it's not just selling a car, it's selling the experience. So thank you so much for you guys kind of breaking that down of how we went from traditional to now digital, kind of what that looks like. And we're going to dive into our first fun fact quiz of the week. So this is, I'll ask both you guys what you think it is, but then we won't tell you exactly what it is till the end. So the first question is, the automotive industry has how many Americans? So the automotive industry employs how many Americans? The first choice, A, is 1.5 million. B is 5.6 million. C is 9.9 million. Or D is 15.2 million. So just to recap, the automotive industry employs how many Americans? A, 1.5 million, B, 5.6 million, C, 9.9 million, or D, 15.2 million auto workers.
Hey guys, we make sure that Craig and our team puts us multiple answer questions, multiple choice. That's what I was looking for. Answers there, so we can at least have a shot at it.
Yeah, so I'm not saying, hey, just give me a number, right?
Hey, before we dive into the next section, I do want to peel back because I think it's important for the listeners here. And Andrew, this would be a good question for you. And then Ashley, too, your background being in the automotive dealership, pretty rapidly, the industry changed. I can remember when I first started working with the marketing and advertising, when I was working with my father on this, it was, hey, we're just trying to figure out how do we guerrilla market the area? Because before really the internet and digital marketing got big, you could kind of take this approach in certain areas, and if you just did the guerrilla marketing, you covered everything. So like you were talking about earlier, if we were on the billboards and we got in the newspaper, especially on the weekend edition, and on the radio we got to drive time, maybe on TV we got on the sports review or the weather stuff, we could pretty much guerrilla market the entire area without absolutely blowing our budget. And I know Shelby talked about it earlier. With digital wise, whether it's Google or it's pre-roll or if it's on social, you can put as big a budget as you want out there, and they'll gobble the whole thing up. They'll find the audience. Where in the past you're like, okay, I can make this fit, and we hit everybody. Now that's changed. You can't just guerrilla market everybody. So I'm sure you guys have seen the same way. But then what led you all the way down the path of going, okay, I understand digital. I went and visited the Facebook office, and that got me on there. But what made it click going, I'm onto something to help people hyper-focus in digital, where we're now in a world where we can't guerrilla market everything?
In my experience, it's being able to track things in digital advertising can be a two-edged sword. It's like the being on the drive time on radio, having a coveted spot on TV, getting involved with endorsements, getting a DJ to come by the dealership and set up a booth outside the dealership. Like, all those things were kind of tough to measure, but it was kind of comfortable not knowing. It's like, we're getting exposure, business is okay, let's just keep doing it, let's try out new creative ideas. Where now it's so measurable down to, what's our cost per lead, what's our cost per click, that I think a lot of like what makes marketing work, we kind of lose sight of. And we start wanting to game the system of what drives the cheapest result of that one metric we're trying to follow. If it's VDP views, what's the cheapest way to get VDP views? Now we'll call that a win, and kind of lose sight of who are we getting in front of, what are they seeing? And something I kind of try to stress with our team is like 9% of people click on ads at all. So 9% of people are actually just clicking ads. So if we put all of our attention and our money into the bucket of clicks, that's going to be just 9% potentially of our customer base. Maybe more Nissan drivers click ads, fewer Ferrari dealers click ads, but like 9% is just a small fraction of the customer base we're trying to reach. So what's the next smart substitution for that ROI? And it's going to be reach, it's going to be visibility, it's going to be engagement, it's going to be the amount of time that they watched a video that we put on their Facebook, on their Instagram stories, on TikTok stories. If people are engaging with us, then we can start to look at more meaningful metrics beyond just those clicks. Ashley, what's your experience been like?
Yeah, so on the dealership side, I kind of echo what you said. Like, everybody, especially in auto, I feel like everyone wants that instant gratification. They want the leads. They want to sell the car. So trying to get them involved in shooting a funny video for TikTok or Instagram, they don't always see the value in that because they don't see that ROI right away. So a lot of my time is spent like educating the managers on how this is going to make a difference. No, someone might not see it today and come buy a car, but social is there to educate and entertain. And the more you educate and entertain, the more they know you, and trust you, and then they're going to come buy from you. So it's really just kind of teaching them the long game, I guess, is the best way to put it with
Yes.
Social media and digital marketing.
Yeah, I think you're dead on there.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I just kind of want to walk
some people out to help with creative at dealerships now. And trying to help dealerships like create ideas of like, hey, let's not shoot this vertically, let's shoot it or not shoot horizontally, let's shoot it vertically. Let's make it with the intention of it being in stories and reels and unique platforms that other dealerships aren't using yet.
Yeah.
I think that's important because that's a shift of a mindset. And we went through that. Now, if we had Craig in the room when we were talking about our whole marketing department, we had to peel back the layers and go, okay, we're now hiring somebody to be a great salesperson or a great service advisor, and then all of a sudden we wanted to get them to be good at shooting video. Like we know that that's a platform that they need to use to grow our customer database, but they're not any good at that. So I think you're onto something that as simple as like, hey, rotate your phone the other way. Let's go in and actually show them. And we found value in then actually having somebody internally to come up with that content so that then they could use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a person's fault?
Yeah,
Is it Craig doing that?
No, right now we actually have we got a team under Craig, but David, who is really good with Adobe and Creative, he was a sales professional we had, and we ended up moving him into that position, where then he's helping us capture the content, he's putting it in the right format, and then we put it in a marketing channel in Slack that then everybody can grab and can use. So it's professional, it's got the same message, and it's ready to go.
And was that deliberate? Like you noticed that he had a good penchant for making content, just personally or for the store, and then
Yeah,
you
that
said,
was-
okay, this person, let's get him out of sales.
We do a good amount of that. We were just talking about it in a manager's meeting yesterday. If you know an employee will show up on time and have a great attitude, but is maybe not hitting all the KPIs for that specific department, and not to say that David was or wasn't, or any employee was or wasn't, but we just see that they don't have that twinkle in the eye of their first day that you hire them or a week into it. That's just a conversation that needs to be had. It's like, tell me what other things excite you, or what you might be interested in doing, and here's kind of our growth plan. Do you see a fit for here? And we do that often with our employees. And so that was the thing with David, as we challenged our team, hey, we need you to make your own creative social so that we can springboard off of it, because there's a whole lot to be said about organic coming from this person's profile and this person's profile. And he was really good at that. And then it was something I just kept saying to these two. It was like, hey, David is really good at this. And he was good at sales, but I was like, let's have that conversation and see if that'd be something that he'd want to do full time for us. And when we asked that, you could see his face light up like, I could do that as a job. The other was a side product, of what he did to create income, to sell cars. I was like, yeah, that's something that we're looking at. And he was like, oh, I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. He took off with that. It's grown.
You're good. Go ahead.
Good.
He took off on his own. Yeah, it's like, because that guy is
I was just saying he took off.
Sorry, I think I got a short delay, but when there's somebody like that at the dealership, it's a huge it's a huge piece of ammunition for somebody like us to capture some of that content and just have it archived to where we can put it in front of specific audiences. If he's doing a fun walk around of a Jeep Gladiator, let's get in front of everybody who's looked at Jeep Gladiators in the past and start targeting them with that same ad that he's created of the walk around. And then having some, like, I wish more dealers had like a Craig too, who can get in the nuts and bolts and in the weeds of what's working, what's not, and the data, and then have somebody that has more of the right brain artist, coming up with the creative side. It's a good 1-2 punch in our experience.
And that, just like parking there for a second, that's something we always haven't won at. We have lots of ideas, and we can only put so much effort to each idea for so long, but that's something that we've talked about, and Craig and team, we've focused them to help us with that. And we do so much, and it's important to us. We like doing it, but it's also just like I talked about the Red Bull thing, of the content that's entertaining or informative. We've challenged them. Like last week, we had one of our local football teams that went to the state championship, and so we were supporting them. We've sponsored their field and kind of sponsored other parts and pieces through that. And we said, hey, we need to be at their pep rally and get some of that organic content of supporting them. And so then it was a great thing of us kind of a plan coming together. Here's how we're going to support them. We got beanies for all the boys and then the coaches and the whole team, because it was cold out. It was a way for us to support them and give them something that they needed. And so then we said, hey, here's the pep rally. So I gave to Craig. Craig took him and team. They went out there. They created the content. And then David edited that content, put it on Slack. And so then everyone could organically take that content and support someone else. But in the same time, we're talking, it's on Red Bull's page, i.e. Red Bull is us. And we're saying, hey, we're so proud of the Farmington Cardinals. Hey, we're so proud of the Elkins Elks. Look what they're doing. And it's just powered by Lewis Automotive Group. So getting our team to be able to put that whole thing together, we're just now getting our legs on that. But we have big things coming, of challenging that team to be able to help us, that of all the things that we support and sponsor, so we're not constantly just saying, hey, buy this for this.
Absolutely. Hey, a fun thing to challenge both of y'all, and either of y'all can answer it, and this is kind of to open it up and broaden it to be where anyone asking, hey, I'm not really in marketing a whole lot. I don't have a whole lot to allocate to that, but say anyone comes to you and they say, I've got $500 to spend in this excess amount. What would you tell them to do with that $500?
I've always just pointed people to just boosting a post and stepping on the gas on a piece of content that seems like it's getting a little bit more traction, and just seeing what it looks like to go from, reaching the 80 people that organically see it to reaching with I think you said $500.
Yeah, 500.
At a $10 cost per thousand, you get 50,000 impressions. So all of a sudden 50,000 people can see that post and just see the engagement, the comments, potentially some sharing, and just get a small feel for what it feels like to start getting more exposure through people's news feeds, maybe through their stories. And then that'll help kind of like give you a sense for what it feels like to get those additional eyeballs. Ashley, what would you do with $500 in a perfect world?
Yeah, I agree. Either boosting or putting money behind some kind of community outreach that you're doing, like you're hosting a pet adoption event or something that you're doing in the community. That goes so much farther than saying, I have all these Jeeps for sale. We're going to put $500 and send it out to as many people as we can to try to get them to come buy a Jeep. People want to know that you're involved in the community and that you care and you're not just there to sell them something. So yeah, I would definitely put it towards something that's involved with community outreach.
Let me peel the layer back and challenge y'all even a little bit more. And the reason we came up with that $500 was we've got all types of business leaders out there that are listening to this podcast. So they may be a plumber, they may be in the HVAC business, they may have a dry cleaning business or whatever else it may be. And they're going, hey, we've got to grow our reach. We don't have thousands to spend every single month, but hey, I got $500. What should I do? So that's where that question came from. So now let's take it a layer deeper. As you said, okay, $500, we could put it behind some type of post. How would you spread it out? If they're sitting there going, okay, I'm willing to invest $500 and it's a lot to them. How do they spread that out? Should they just do it on 3-day campaigns? Should they spread it out over 30 days? Should it just be on one post with a CTA to it? If you don't mind, try to kind of unpack maybe some tips for our audience out there.
Facebook makes it easy, and so does Google, to put in your credit card and start spending money. As you guys alluded to earlier, it's easy to start spending money. It's hard to really measure what you're able to get out of it. That's actually meaningful to your business. And it's different if you're an HVAC company compared to a dealership that has a BDC and a big call center on what your infrastructure is like that can help. It's like, I think when I start talking with a new dealership, it's kind of getting a quick feel for what they have internally that we can start helping to highlight. Like if they've got a big BDC with some assassins in it that are twiddling their thumbs because they don't have a lot of leads, let's really focus on a lot of lead gen, even though they're going to convert to sales at maybe 2%, but just to get them busy, versus another dealership that doesn't have a lot of people that are able to work leads. We don't have any automation set up yet. Let's dial back on lead gen for a store like that and just focus on the blocking and tackling of getting traffic through the website, getting traffic to their trade-in appraisal tools, getting service reminders to people who bought from us in the past. So if there's somebody with some technical ability to just simply export an Excel document from the DMS and import that into Facebook Ads Manager, that's going to be the hot ticket for the dealer to be able to target everybody who's purchased over 2 years ago and spend that $500 right there. And that could be 20,000 people. So with that $500, you get 50,000 impressions. You're going to get each person a few times each, going through their news feed, starting to reconnect with customers who haven't shopped you in over 2 years, and could simply be like, follow our page, like our business, not buy anything, but just simply remind them about where they purchased their vehicle, and an opportunity without thinking for more than a second, except for just to tap a button to reconnect with you guys.
Hey, Andrew, I think you hit on something that's really important there, and I was hoping you would go into a couple deeper pieces, and you did. You got to ask another question of, okay, I got $500, but where do I have bandwidth available in my business? Before I open one of these valves, can I handle it when it starts flowing out the other end? And you hit on that. So I'll let you expound on that just a little bit for our listeners on how can you identify, could you handle more phone calls, or do you have a BDC, or where can we open a valve up before we just invest the money, where you can actually handle it and you don't have a bunch of messages that come in and then they just sit there dormant?
Yeah, it's easy up front to look at sales because that cures all, and that's the number 1, 2, and 3 on the GM and a lot of the principals' radars is sales. And what do we have from an inventory level? What incentives do we have? And if we have a ton of pickup trucks, we don't need an incentive to come down from the manufacturer, in my experience. We can have a manager special. And let's just make it up right now, and let's agree on it, and let's run that on these different channels that we can quickly control. Maybe radio, TV, but definitely on social, definitely on display networks and OTT, where we can run all of our inventory that's been on our lot for over 80 days is now in the manager special. And here's everything that we can throw into the discount, or the perception of a discount, or perception of an offer, or an extended service contract that comes with the purchase of the vehicle, to being able to dig into the assets that the dealer has to help ignite sales. And like we were talking about with Ford right now, we're as an industry, automotive can't target on social, especially on meta platforms right now, because it's considered credit. And so you can just do a 15-mile radius around the store. But if we as a dealership can pump in our data, or as advertisers can pull in DMV records, is how we're targeting a lot of folks, or insurance records. If they say that they have a vehicle, if they have a Tesla, let's go after every single person in this market driving a Tesla and talk to them about the incentives and the reason to switch over to the Mach-E or the Ford Lightning. And same with, Jeep drivers getting into a Bronco right now, because there's $2,000 incentives and all these manufacturer cash offers. So for us to look at sales through a lens of not just let's drive website traffic, but let's work a little bit with the assets that the manufacturer is providing and that your lot already has. And then a lot of dealers, it's like, hey, can we do a little bit with services? Here's everybody who's purchased from your dealership who's not doing routine services. Let's start with those people. But then a lot of times what we find out is a lot of dealers are at capacity. It's going to be a worse experience if we if we start getting more people into the service department. So maybe we should start with recruiting some techs. Let me try to help from my desk to do what we can do to get more applicants, so you guys can be more selective on the techs that we're hiring. And then, yeah, just my experience, it's just like if the advertiser can be in the front seat next to the dealer and help drive that strategy through a helpful conversation, it goes a lot further than just saying, hey, cost per click is down and clicks are up. Things are great. And then dealer's like, whoa, hold on. Things are not great. Not on our side of the desk. And yeah, to find a conversation where we can kind of make sure that what the advertiser's doing from their desk is aligned with what the dealership actually needs.
Yeah, that's important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, we got to dive into our fun fact of the day. It's, before closing out there, so both of y'all can dive into there. But the automotive industry employs about how many Americans? Your answer was, or your options were either 1 million or 1.5 million, 5.6 million, 9.9 million, or 15.2 million. Y'all have any ideas?
I was gonna go high, D.
Okay, D.
Yeah, I was going to go 15.2 as well.
So that's much higher than I was thinking. It's actually 9.9.
Dang.
But yes, y'all are closer. So they employ over 9.9 million Americans in the automotive industry.
It's connected to so many. And I think those facts came up even more so during COVID. The automotive industry, and this is just talking about just automotive employees, but I heard this somewhere, and I might be off a little bit, but the automotive industry, all the suppliers, you guys, everybody connected to the automotive industry equaled up to like 50% on one of the stock exchanges behind the company. So when you start thinking about the transportation and the advertising and the suppliers it's a big industry.
It is.
It's the backbone. It's the purest form of like capitalism, where we have a product, somebody wants it, we can help service it.
You bet.
And I think you guys had a question a few weeks ago about the 3-point harness. Who invented that? I would have gotten that one right.
You would have got it right?
Yeah, my wife has a Volvo, and I see it on the wall at the dealership. They have like a big picture of the guy pulling on his 3-point harness that invented it.
You were closer than we were.
Funny. We were just thinking like rubber to the road of like basic, but yeah, I that's situational awareness. We talked about
really
that,
is.
But yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Okay, let's go in a little bit deeper on the advertising side. And both of you guys have been through the transition of traditional marketing, of whether it was billboards or actually from your standpoint, if it was in the dealership with just trying to get some of the ads from your fashion merchandising background on trying to get it to look correct, stuff set up. And then we're like, okay, we need to go digital. And Andrew, you've kind of walked us through on there's a whole different segment of different digital platforms. You found Facebook, and then you dove deeper into that, which has been a success. What's next? What do y'all see coming on the horizon? And we'll start unpacking this piece by piece. But what do you guys see that's next? In the social platforms, do you see that social will be in multiple different platforms depending upon the demographics you're going after? Or what's next? Let me stop there and let y'all answer.
Ashley, I want to hear. I'm so curious. What do you think?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Well, I feel like it's kind of already going that way with the demographics. And just by my personal experience, knowing like what platforms I'm on and what I'm kind of shying away from. So I do feel like you need to advertise the different demographics on different platforms already, because it's definitely moving in that direction. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with TikTok. I feel like that was the next one up for being able to identify and market shoppers, and all those things. Because I am a TikTok user, and I've seen kind of the growth that Instagram went through with all of that. TikTok has kind of gone through the same thing, and they're starting to allow advertisers on there more. They have TikTok Shop where you can advertise things to your followers. So they're definitely trying to grow in that space, but I guess we'll see what happens if we're even allowed to use it
Yeah.
in the United States.
And Andrew, before we go to you, I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper with Ashley here. Okay, so you gave us a little bit of a vague answer there. So let's talk about
Okay.
social platforms. If you had to identify social platforms for businesses, okay, where we could get some exposure, we could get some either clicks, conversions, ROI, give us maybe a 30,000-foot view, or let's come down just a little bit of which social platform you would pick for which demographics.
Gotcha. Okay. So I would pick Meta because right now they have the most data to target who you want to target. So if you want to go by demographics, especially those that are of car buying age, and you're not focusing on younger generations that might not be ready for car buying yet, I would definitely go with Meta and hit Facebook and Instagram.
So do you separate those two? Facebook, what age group are you going after with Facebook, and then does that change when you switch over to Instagram?
Yes, I would. So Facebook, I would definitely target maybe 30 and up. I don't personally know anybody that's under 30 that uses Facebook. And I mean, there might be some people that use Facebook that are under 30,
Okay.
but I personally don't know any.
Okay,
And
so then we go to Instagram. Well, what's that look like?
Instagram is definitely a little younger. I would definitely go 20 and up, maybe 20 to 60 for Instagram.
Okay. And then who else do you throw in there? Do you throw TikTok in there? Are you throwing any other social platforms in there? You know?
Do you want to put wall space in or something?
No, just throwing it out there. Twitter, X, whatever they call it. I don't know. Are you doing anything with LinkedIn? I'm throwing it out there to see.
Yeah. LinkedIn would be great for recruiting if you're recruiting, because that's where a lot of people are looking for jobs.
Okay.
TikTok, if you want to do more of like a overall branding, it's a great place to do branding right now, especially if you want to hit those younger followers and try to kind of tee them up to buying a car, even if they aren't in the market yet.
Okay, that's good. Andrew, I can see by the look on your nonverbal communication, you can't wait to jump in.
No, I'm just so intrigued. I asked this of so many people, like my kids' friends and my like trying to figure out like what the next generation's really tapping into.
Sure.
Do you guys see ads on Roblox? What kind of what? Okay, there's no ads. What is the? Is there a pop-up in between? Oh, that is an ad. You didn't know that was an ad. And just trying to figure out what's around the next corner.
You know what that kind of brings up too is, as growing up, is there some relevance in younger generations seeing awareness of products no different than the cereal boxes when we were growing up? You know, that the kids were grabbing that and then it was influencing the parents. You know, is there a trickle down effect there that sometimes we don't look at because we're so honed in on a certain demographics?
Yeah, there is. It's so tough, like for automotive brands and dealers to think that far out from really trying to make an impact on that next generation. But I don't know. Do you feel like kids ever make an influence on what cars their parents buy outside of that?
So they definitely do, and I don't know how many people want to admit to it, but kids make a lot of decisions for the entire family. Like, and I'm not talking about cars, but I'm talking about my family, and I'm like, why did we buy this stuff? And it's like, well, Junior said he wanted it, but it's funny. I didn't think about it. You were asking them, like, what's next? And then Andrew says in Roblox, I'm like, Well, a couple of my kids are on Roblox, but I remember a couple years ago at Digital Dealer, maybe the last time we saw some of you guys in person, I went to I don't know what it was called, but it was like Automotive AI. And the guy at the time that was over a store in Florida that was super futuristic thinking went into VR. And so he was talking about VR. And so he'd kind of teamed up with a company to be able, it was with the Lexus store, I believe, the ability to put these goggles on, and it was during COVID, so if the model was not on the floor, that they could walk through the entire process of the vehicle. So then they talked about, I think the Meta goggles had come out. I don't own a pair, so I'm not really good in this language, but people were buying billboards, and people were, it's crazy, they were buying land within, what is that called? Is that within the Meta? Is that
The metaverse is
the
when like,
metaverse? Thank you.
yeah.
So where people were already planning, that was really futuristic thinking, and it's so hard for us because that's an advertising aspect. And if you think about Ashley, you being in the fashion marketing, there was plenty of people that could say, on TikTok Shop you can put some little trinket thingamajig, and it's easy to transact. Supplemental sales, it's easy to transact. In automotive, it has to be further out there. So how do you get plant in that next metaverse?
You bet.
To make it transact? Do you see it? Do you see that? Do you think that happens? Does it go that far, or are we just trying to sell the cars in December?
I think the metaverse is toast. Like nobody really cared about the metaverse except for Mark Zuckerberg, and it was easy for us to get some PR,
Yeah,
like excitement on our end, and be like, "Hey, we just transacted the first metaverse,
yeah,
vehicle." Where, like, I don't know, like what we were talking about is what you had brought up with like AI. I think has got such a huge opportunity with every single vertical, from HVACs to car dealerships to marketing agencies to everything. And it's like simply like I think the way to toe into AI for a dealership, like I did a whole presentation at NIADA about AI and some ways to start using just ChatGPT, and somebody in the crowd was like, I use it for reviews. I'm like, oh my God, that's actually way better than any of this stuff I was talking about. For like a tangible way for a dealership to use ChatGPT or Gronk or any of those other platforms and get something that they can actually use, where it's not hallucinating or it's not like wildly off. Where with a decent prompt of telling the machine who you are, we're a dealership. We care about our culture. We care about our staff. We care about our employees. We're really empathetic to people who don't have a good experience or they do have a good experience. But then like prompt it and then say, here's a review. Hopefully it's amazing, or maybe it's middle. But it can prompt. It can give you a really good response, and then you can say shorten it. And now we have, I think it's a good entry point for a lot of dealerships to just try it. I know a lot of dealerships are, and they're way further downstream with analyzing data and making faster decisions and things like that. But just a simple way for it to actually transact into something that you can use is getting into AI. And then down the road, it's going to be AI is going to be crunching all of our CRM information and telling us some things we never even knew about our customer base, and who's our most profitable 100 customers, and what are 500 other customers that have the same attributes. So it's exciting, like on that side. I don't know. Do you guys ever see the metaverse anywhere anymore?
no,
Not really. I think you're more onto something with the AI, and I think there's a lot of people just right on the cusp of embracing the AI. They like the idea, but just like you said, they're trying to figure out, how do I put this into my day-to-day activities to make me more efficient, to give me the correct information I want without having to pull 15 reports. So I think those small pieces you're talking about are of great value to business owners. They just need help on how do they integrate that. It's not necessarily embracing it. It's where do I use that? How do I integrate it into my day-to-day? So do you see more of that going? So Andrew, we got to kind of walk through the same pieces with you. Okay, we've thrown out the metaverse. We got your opinion there and don't disagree with you. Will the relevance still stay there with Facebook? Does it just keep growing deeper with the same demographics? Does that ever broaden out? Or do you need to look at social in this more complex layer depending upon who you're trying to market to or at what layer you're trying to market?
We're constantly advertising on all the platforms. I'm finding the best return still through meta platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. I wouldn't sleep on WhatsApp, especially if you have like a Hispanic buyer or not even Hispanic, but people from out of the country who communicate back and forth between that country to start chats on WhatsApp from Facebook, Instagram ads. Okay, so that's meta platforms. We've done a lot with WhatsApp, or not with WhatsApp, with Snapchat. Never really found a ton of return. TikTok advertising, it can get there. It helps. It really helps if we have good creative, and that's very few and far between with dealerships that have TikTok feeling content. So we end up running just inventory on TikTok. The targeting is not there. The cost per click, the cost per lead, the cost per sale, and our experience has been not as good as Meta's platform. We're doing Pinterest. What we see is a much smaller audience, but it's a really engaged audience on Pinterest, where people are on Pinterest deliberately. They don't see their friends and their family and celebrities, but they're seeing things that they're shopping. So if somebody's looking for, things for a nursery, and we start to cater to them with an SUV and a minivan, we see those people that click through, come to the website, spend a lot more time, and they engage with the dealership a lot more than on any other platform, but it's just a lot smaller of an audience. So we're certainly testing out all the platforms, especially from a paid side, on who we can target, how we can track it. And I want to keep it going meta with most of my eggs until the times change, and then we'll have to scoot sideways into another platform.
As a business, Andrew, do you have a team or an individual that they're assigned to working on testing the waters in other areas, or is that collectively everybody? Or walk us through how you make sure that you're constantly looking to see what's next and you're testing that before you recommend it to your clients?
It's funny. This is like an issue of contention internally. They're like, well, we should just pay for it and look at it and see if it works. I'm like, well, we have a lot of dealers that are trusting us right now. Here's a new platform, a new ad type. Let's be the first in the industry, or at least the first in this market, to really be testing it out. And let's not put in a ton of money, but let's agree, hey, we're going to move $500 out of this that's not working on Meta or with OTT, and we're going to move it into TikTok inventory ads. Are you comfortable with that, Mr. Dealer? And I want to run it for just 2 weeks. We'll run it for the whole month, but let's just look at it for 2 weeks, and if it totally sucks, let's pull the plug and agree that was fun, that we tried it out. But if not, let's let it keep running. And then let's look for a system on our end where we can start to get more eyeballs on it. So it's usually my business partner, Keith, will start running a test. He'll report to our team, our leadership team. And then we's like, okay, this is something interesting. Let's get more eyes on it. And kind of like with what you guys do, it sounds like internally with your dealerships, let's have a process, whether it's through chat that you guys have with Slack. I think you guys said you use Slack, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Not every dealership uses something like that. It's cool. But it's, ways for our team from the bottom to the top be able to escalate things that are interesting. And if we see some success, like what can we do to either fix it or get rid of it if it's not working? And if it is working, what can we do to grow it? And a lot of times it's like, okay, let's get out in front of all of our customers, letting them know the success we saw in this little tiny microcosm, and if we can start testing it out with their stores.
That makes sense. That's some good insight. We appreciate that for sure. It's been a great conversation. We appreciate you guys joining us today, just kind of giving an inside look at the different layers of marketing and the different avenues and sources to use. So next we jump into our frequently asked questions. Hopefully Craig sent this over so it's not just catching you off guard, but we'll test you out here. We go into this section to kind of let the audience know behind the scenes, what's your frequently asked questions that you get from everybody. And here's what we heard. Andrew, so here's your question. What is the hardest thing about the marketing business? So that's what is the hardest thing about the marketing business?
Okay. I think it's kind of like people don't really understand the two components of like marketing and advertising. I didn't know this forever, and what the difference is. And advertising is the tail end and the money being spent for the billboard. It's the ad being placed on the radio station and the TV media buy and the strategy that we're launching on social and on search. And here's the dollars behind it. Where marketing is the look and the feel of the brand. It's the dealership. It's the market that you guys serve. It's the employees that you guys have had for 25 years that have a plaque on the wall, that are inspiring customers to come back and do services there, that are inspiring younger techs to stay and to reach those objectives and reach that goal and see that somebody's made their whole entire career inside the walls of your dealership, and what that's done for not only them, but their family and their community, and how they've, and the pricing of the vehicles and the what you guys have in stock. So like to grab all of the essence of what that brand is and then put that into what is going to be the paid advertising parts, where it's easy, I think, for advertisers to more and more be put into this position of wanting to hit specific metrics, and us as advertisers wanting to sell to you that here's what is important, and it's VDP views and it's vehicle detail page views, and I'm going to pump you with vehicle detail page views, and the more the merrier, and now we're done. And now what your customers see from their end is not that brand. It's not that service technician. It's not that your family has done all these things for the community, but it's that you guys have inventory and prices. And my challenge is that we've lost the marketing and we're just so focused on the advertising aspect that, it's the customer who's going to be buying the vehicle sees us as a place that has a lot of inventory for the cheapest price. And it completely starts to commoditize the brand that we're actually trying to advertise. So that's my challenge is getting in front of people being like, we need to have a little bit of creative behind what we're doing that resonates with the customers beyond just cars and prices.
No, that's good. And Ashley, over to you. What is the most frequently question you get about marketing today?
So my most frequent question, I'll go back to when I was a dealer consultant talking to dealers. Most of them ask me for help with organic social content, and they pretty much don't know where to start. So pretty much I, have to educate them on how to start with organic content, why it's important, and then what we can do with it on the paid side. I think a lot of dealers ask that over and over again, and they'll even ask us if we'll do it for them, because they don't want to invest the money to hire somebody to do content for them. They want to have the receptionist do it along with her other duties, or throw it onto someone else in the dealership, instead of hiring somebody, or like you guys did, promoting someone who was good at it at the dealership. I would say that's my most frequently asked question, is how to get started. And I would say hire somebody that likes to do it and that's their passion, and just start consistently posting content. You have to just start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's good. That's good. Thanks for sharing that with us.
I think that's important. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time and diving in with us. Andrew and Ashley with Dealer OMG, kind of giving us behind the scenes of marketing, social marketing, the future of social media marketing, what we thought maybe would work and didn't work, and all the fun and parts and pieces of how they've helped us and other businesses, how they could help. So thank you guys so much for your time today. As we wrap this thing up, remember you can visit us at lewissuperstore.com or Crossroad Conversations podcast.com to see all the previous episodes, and like and subscribe to see all the future ones as we continue to bring in guests and to grow to be able to bring you relevant information within the area of Northwest Arkansas and all over the United States of how we can be a help. So thanks so much for joining us.
Matt, Taylor, Shelby, it was a pleasure, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.